Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing the Yeezy 350 Ash Pearl. Specifically, we'll be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Yeezy 350 Ash Pearl and why that is. To preface this, if you guys enjoy these types of videos regarding the market, reselling, and even info on how to acquire these limited products, be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications just so you're always 100% updated. Furthermore, for more urgent updates like shock drops, raffles, Sitelists, etc., follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and also personals for you. This way you're always in the loop 24/7. For those who don't know, the Yeezy 350 Ash Pearl drops on March 20th, tomorrow. If you have not already, be sure to check out my Head of Cop guide on these if you're watching this before the drop. Otherwise, congrats on the cop. In that case, let's move on. In order to determine if the Yeezy 350 Ash Pearl will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will settle at after the drop, and also when shipments come in, essentially the pairs going into circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time, and finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding? Essentially, are these worth your time? Before we get into these Yeezy 350 Ash Pearls, I did want to mention an update on the Supreme Dunks. If you guys watched the last video, I mentioned that I was planning to quick sell mine while they were still in the 1200 to 13 range during drop day. I can already tell that quick selling was not optimal. That was not an accurate call on my end. Although I still do think that they're not the best hold, I still do believe that they still have some more room to grow with this kind of velocity. Hence, I'd suggest holding these if you do still have pairs. This is another instance where, once again, we see how important stock numbers are for these calls, just like the Yeezy 700 Suns, for example. I did mention that I unfortunately did not have stock when making the video for these, unlike the vast majority of other Nike products. But anyway, let's discuss these Yeezys now with that update out of the way. Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range of what these should be settling at. Similar to what we discussed before, since this is not a Nike item, I do not know the exact stock, but I'm pretty confident that it'll be somewhat close to the prior Ash 350s, the Ash Blue, and the Ash Stone. If anything, they will likely have more stock since they are dropping worldwide. Evidently, demand on these is very high based off the current sale volume and how well pre-sale is holding up for these, especially for sizes under 8. In fact, I'd even say there is more demand for this colorway in particular in comparison to the Stone and Blue Ash 350s, likely because they're much more universal, so perhaps that can even outweigh the difference in stock, if there even is any. Overall, like I mentioned in the Head of Cop guide, I'd suggest going for all sizes under 8 for lunch money with a decent margin. Nothing too crazy, but they should be easy money nonetheless. As for the larger sizes, you should only consider going for those if you have no tax in your state and you're still okay with a poor margin. Now, regarding a specific range, since we are less than a day out from the drop as of me recording this, we have already experienced the vast majority of the decline in pre-sale prices, and I don't expect it to change too much more until after the US drop, potentially slightly after the EU drop as well. Post-drop, we often experience what I like to refer to as the impulsivity effect. Sneaker drops specifically impact human impulsiveness significantly after an individual fails to acquire that desired product due to insufficient supply and too much demand. Therefore, on average, we normally see about a 10% increase of the pre-drop prices post-drop. This isn't always the case, but majority of the time it is. Almost always we discuss this to be the case, but this time, I actually don't believe we'll be seeing that 10% increase post-drop. If that was the case, we would be seeing base sizes ranging up into the 380 range. I think we'll see some kind of an increase since these do seem to have more demand. I'd say base sizes do have potential to increase a little more, perhaps on average to 360 with a 5% increase. I'm just not confident in that 10% increase. I do think we'll still see some post-drop, just not as much as we normally do on most products. As for sizes above 6.5 on the other hand, I'm not even sure if those will see any rise, perhaps very marginal, maybe 1 to 2%, nothing too notable. I can certainly see these just maintaining what they're currently at least within the vicinity. Now let's discuss what prices will look like when shipments go out in the 1 to 2 week range. During this period, the vast majority of pairs will be going into circulation. In this 1 to 2 week range, we normally see a decrease of about 10 to 15%. When it comes to these, I would side a little closer to the lower end for these actually, mainly because I don't think we'll be seeing a drastic impulsivity effect, so there shouldn't be too much room for correction. I would expect only about a 10% decrease during this period, with the large sizes being only 5% perhaps, since I'm not expecting any impulsivity effect from those post-drop, leaving even less room for correction. This will then leave us with a settling average of 327 for base sizes, 293 for 7 and 7.5, and 267 for the larger ones, which does not include 13.5. Keep in mind that these are just average prices. Some sizes should be lower than this, some sizes should be higher than this, and that's where we get the average. Now that those average price ranges at those points in time are evident, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time. Traditionally, Yeezys with high demand that have decent resale already always tend to rise, at least in the small base sizes. The only time it doesn't occur is when the Yeezy is overbought or overvalued. We saw this occur on the Yeezy 350 Frozen Yellow, for example. Comparing these to the prior Ash 350s, these did actually start to increase by a very small amount already over the past several weeks. It's not much, it's not too notable, but it's definitely better than where they were at first, and it does illustrate that they do have some momentum. Certainly better than seeing them plummet, of course. More importantly though, let's take a look at some other 350s that resemble this same ash pearl type colorway, in the sense that they're a tone of dark white to tannish, and they're pretty universal with very high stock still. First of all, the natural 350 has already went up a decent amount in sizes under 8 since only October. For something a little older than that though, we have the Yeezy 350 Yeshaya, which has gone up a ton, with the release being in January 2020. Even the Lundmark Yeezy 350, which initially dropped in resale from their original prices, has now done more than double for the base sizes. While again, we see this same pattern with the large sizes still not moving much over this period of time. We even see the same situation with the very ugly Citrons. In conclusion, the current data from prior releases with relation to these illustrates that these will certainly increase. Specifically, sizes under 7 should see the most notable increase, with sizes over 8 not seeing much of a notable increase. Now in terms of the margin, will these actually be worth your time? Well, based off the prior examples I have shown, I really do think that holding sizes under 7 will be worth your time if you do hold them for around a year. In terms of the larger sizes, well, I do believe they'll go up. I do not exactly think that they're the optimal hold, especially compared to these smaller sizes. For that reason, I'd give the base sizes a 7 out of 10 hold value. On the other hand, I'd give any size over 8 a 4 out of 10 hold value, which certainly isn't great, with sizes 7 and 7.5 falling somewhere in between. I'll be holding all base sizes of these, and I will be quick selling the larger sizes. Keep in mind, you should really only be going for those large sizes, first of all, if you have no tax and you're still okay with the poor margin after that, and that just so happens to be me. I'm okay with that poor margin, and I'm shipping to a state that has no tax. So I do think that these base sizes can be a very good hold over time, and if you want some more that are very similar to this, feel free to check out this video, which I do further break down what I'm discussing in terms of the margin and why it's so important. In conclusion, all sizes should increase in value, especially sizes under 7, but I will only be holding those sizes under 7 as I don't feel the larger ones will be worth my time. One note though that is out of my control will always be the risk that Kanye can say F it and restock these whenever he wants. There's an undeniable risk when it comes to all Adidas items. We see it every once in a while, and it's very unfortunate for anyone who's holding these types of items, and it really does lead to a lot of volatility when it comes to these in comparison to Nike items, which are much more stable than these. It sucks, but I still think I'll be taking the risk on these. Of course, it's out of my control if they do end up restocking these somewhere in the future. Remember, if you do plan to quick sell, you must ship out within 2 business days for StockX and Go, or you could also try listing on eBay with 30-day handling. And just a quick note that I always mention for people who intend on holding something but they do have low capital, you should never hold anything, no matter how good it could be, no matter how good the upside could be, if you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you do need money to go for all drops, sell these right after the drop during that minor impulsivity effect before more pairs do go into circulation. But anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or you perhaps learned a thing or two, subscribe, and enable post notifications just to stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies, and pre-verified Nike sneakers accounts. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for you, so you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Why you hurting me with your foot? Can't you find someone else to keep it put? Feel my foot.